Welcome, whoever you are, to Meg's Magical Mansion, a virtual guest house for spiritual wayfarers, a place where the ordinary becomes magical, where wisdom is yours for the asking, and where your higher nature is just a wish away. Thanks for joining us here today on a special cooking, crafting, and creating episode of Meg's Magical Mansion. I'm Meg, and this is my little assistant, Miss Alice Poopers. We're so glad you joined us today, because today I'm going to give away my world-famous recipe for Olive Tapenade. My friends love this stuff, and they beg me to make it for them all the time. For their birthday present, they want Olive Tapenade. Any occasion, if I'm going to a party at their house, oh, bring the Olive Tapenade. If they come over to the mansion, you know they expect to see Olive Tapenade. So today, I'm going to teach everybody how to make it for themselves. Yay! Not that I mind making it for you for gifts, but if I'm not available, I want you to be self-sufficient and able to make it for yourself. And on top of that, we're also going to bake some classic loaves of bread, a baguette style, quick, easy, simple to do, and, well, I won't say quick. No yeast raised bread is ever quick, but doesn't involve a lot of your time. So let's hop over in the kitchen. We're gonna bake some bread, make some tapenade. It's gonna be delicious. Here's everything you need to get started. You'll need 1 package of dry yeast. You'll need 2 cups of warm water, which I'll be getting in just a moment. You need a tablespoon of salt. You'll need 6 to 8 cups of flour. You'll need some cornmeal later on just to sprinkle on the baking sheet so the bread doesn't stick to it, a dish towel, and of course a really nice big bowl. And this is everything you need to make basic baguettes. Let's get started. We're going to start with 2 cups of warm water right from the tap. You want the water to be just about 110 degrees. If you are new to baking, you might want to start by using a thermometer when you're getting the water, because that will help you learn. Once you've been doing it for a while like I have, you just get the feel for it and you know the right temperature. Yeast is a living thing, so if you have the water too hot, you're going to kill it. And if it's not cold enough, you won't activate it. So getting the correct temperature of the water, this first step is critical. Now we're going to proof the yeast for about 15 minutes. That means that we want proof that this is good yeast and it's going to ferment and puff up and make it fluffy bread for us. So we're going to give it 15 minutes, and this is 15 minutes well spent. I can already see it starting to bubble and do things. But I'm going to go ahead and cover it up, because yeast can be kind of shy and we just want it to stay nice and protected under there. And I'm going to set my timer for my little penguin. I'll set penguin for about 15 minutes. And we're just going to set penguin over here, and I'll see you back in about 15, and this should look pretty bubbly and puffy at that point. Okay, we are back, and as you can see, we're starting to get a little bit of fuzzy, fluffy stuff here. So next thing we're going to do is just sprinkle in the tablespoon of salt. And just a note, the oven is cold. Leave the oven off. This bread goes into a cold oven, so do not at any point preheat your oven. Okay, now that we threw the salt in, we're going to start adding cups of flour. Somewhere between 6 and 8. The dough will let us know what that place is. I'm just going to gently start mixing them in. I don't want to be too rough with my yeast. Remember, yeast is a living thing, so treat it with a little bit of care and respect. That's 2. They don't have to be even. They can be rough measures. You're going to know when your dough is right. But you want to keep a rough count in your head. Now I can actually start folding this in more than stirring. So more of a folding at this point. I can see it's getting thicker, and I want to start treating it more like dough. So I'm going to start folding it with the spoon. Pretty soon we're going to get rid of the spoon, probably right about now. Now I'm going to keep it in the bowl, and I'm going to start folding it and patting. We're going to fold it and pat it. Shall we sing the song? All right, here we go. Everybody sing the fold and pat song. Fold and pat, fold and pat, fold and pat. And we're ready to put this out onto the board. Where we can do more folding and patting. Fold and pat, fold and pat, fold and pat. I'm not pounding it very hard. You can see it still has a puffy feeling to it. I don't want to smush it. Okay, don't want to over knead, so I think we're in a pretty good spot. It's feeling pretty happy. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to wash out that bowl and put this back in it. And it's not a bad idea to just put a little tiny bit of olive oil, maybe a tablespoon, into the bottom of the bowl, and then just kind of smear it around the bowl and the bottom and the sides. That way your dough won't get sticky or anything when you're ready to pop it out after it's been rising. So I'm going to try to work this up the sides and make the whole bowl nice and greasy. Then take this little baby and there we go. Put it in here, cover it up, and we're going to let it sit for 45 minutes to an hour or until it has doubled in size. So we'll see you later. For olive tapenade, you need 5 ingredients, just 5 things. Green olives, and these should be any kind of green olive, pitted, no pimentos. Sicilian olives, Spanish olives are just green, pitted, absolutely no anything inside of them. We did make it once with garlic stuffed olives, and that was pretty spanking good. All right, next up you will need some feta cheese. Please be careful when you are buying feta. Do not buy feta made from cow's milk because that's not real feta. Read the label. You want to get something that preferably comes in a square like this, in a cube. It should say sheep's milk on it. So pay attention, and it's worth paying a little extra to get some actual real feta. You'll be glad in the end. You will need fresh garlic. You will need Italian seasonings, and you're going to need some olive oil and some kind of jar to put this all in, because this is part of the fun, is how it goes into the jar, as you will see. So step 1 is you're going to be chopping some garlic up, and please chop up some fresh garlic. I do not use a food processor for this because this tastes better and it has a lot more love in it when you make it by hand. So we're going to put our intentions in this right now, that this is going to be a big jar full of love. This is one of the reasons people go crazy for my olive tapenade, because every single time I do it, I put my intentions in it, that it is just going to be mouthful after mouthful of love and joy. And so I'm doing that again today. This is just going to make people so happy. And this week, we're going to have a special episode on setting your intentions called Ready, Set Your Intentions, Go. And I hope you'll check in Thursday for our regular episode. And we're going to talk a little bit more about setting your intentions and how it makes everything in life much, much easier. But right now, I'm just setting my intentions for this tapenade. It is going to be a breeze to make, and it's going to be delicious. Everybody that eats it is going to love it and be lifted up happy and filled with joy because of it. So we're just gonna chop up some garlic now, and I'm old school, we're gonna chop it by hand. Not that much. How much you chop depends on how much tapenade you want to make. The more you chop, the more you make. Next up, this is about 6 or 8 ounces of olives. But again, woo, the more you chop, the more you're gonna make. I chop all of this by hand. I just think it puts more love in. You could do this in a food processor, but I guarantee you it will not be as good if you do this in a food processor as if you chop by hand. Very little chop. I'm just thinking about the love. I'm putting my intentions in it. This is one of the reasons I'm a kitchen wench. So now we're just gonna chop up all of these olives. The next step is we're going to take the olives, put them in a bowl, notice they're in little tiny bits that can fit on a cracker or a piece of bread easily, and then we will combine them with the garlic. Then we're just going to mix that up. And as far as how much garlic, that's up to you. Depends on how much you like garlic. A little or a lot. The next step is to take the feta, and we're just gonna crumble it up with our fingers. And then I'm gonna toss in Italian seasoning. And this should kind of coat the feta. And again, how much or how little? Kind of depends on how much you like your Italian seasoning. It's really a matter of taste. So why this is such a fun and easy recipe. There's no right or wrong, and there's no specific measuring required. And I'm going to try to break the feta into nice little chunks that will fit on a cracker or a piece of bread very easily. Okay. And now comes the fun part. This is the part where we're actually going to be making the jar and making it look pretty. And this is what seems to make everybody super duper happy. So I'm going to put enough tapenade to just cover the bottom of the jar. Then I'm going to put a layer of the feta. Again, now I'm just trying to kind of cover the olives. Then I take a little bit of olive oil and I just pour it right on top. You will use a lot of olive oil for this recipe, that's for sure. Then I'm going to make a layer of olives, spread them around. Kind of see now it's starting to layer up a little bit. And we're going to have a layer of feta. Just kind of spread it out on top of the layer of olives. So you should be starting to get a little layering effect here. Little stripes. And then we'll pour in more olive oil. This whole thing will need to be literally covered with olive oil, so you don't want to be too skimpy on it. You can keep this in your fridge for a very long time as long as you keep it covered with the oil for 3-4 weeks. Pour in the rest of these olives. push it down now, just very gently. I'm just going to sort of flatten it down, not too hard. You don't want to really smush it. Just flatten that top layer and make it look pretty. And then give it a final topping with the olive oil. You should have everything completely covered. Usually I will come back and check because it will kind of drain down. And you might need to top it off a little bit at the end if it does that. Because as long as you keep this covered with olive oil, it will stay in your refrigerator for a good 3 or 4 weeks. You can see it's all pretty and sort of layered. And then you can just scoop it out. You can use this as a dip for crackers and bread. You can use it on top of pasta with some Parmesan cheese and black pepper. It is absolutely to die for. There's so much you can do with it. It's really delicious and fun. You can make small jars to give as gifts. It's always great if you show up at a party with this. And of course, my personal favorite, if you don't have fresh bread, is the Crunch Master Original Multi-Seed Cracker. I'm not paid to endorse them. I'm telling you this because they are the best with the tapenade. And I often make a gift bag of a bag of these crackers and a jar of my tapenade. So now, everybody out there that's been nagging me to make them tapenade, I want you guys to all go make your own. Now you know how. Ah, there she is. So it's about double in size, and I'm going to turn it out onto this board. And we're going to cut this in half. And we're going to take each half and make it into a long loaf. Not too much kneading here, just sort of going to shape it. Like to tuck the ends up a little bit. Now, before I move this over to my baking pan, which is over here, I'm going to sprinkle some cornmeal just so it doesn't stick. Or you can use parchment paper. Then we're going to take this one and do the same. Just sort of tuck it in. Oh, that one wants to be a loaf. I might have to mess with this guy too much. And then I'm going to put them right here. Switch that out. And we're going to cover them back up with a towel. And we're going to let them sit like this. Get the pretty side up there. We'll let them sit like that for a few moments. Now we're going to put the kettle on and we're going to boil some water, because what you do is you put a pan of boiling water underneath, on the rack underneath your bread. And I'm going to show you in the oven how that gets set up in just a minute. So right now I'm just going to put this on to boil and I'm going to wait for the kettle to whistle. And while the kettle is heating up the water, the bread over here is taking a last little rise. Okay, a little bit of ice water, pastry brush. You're going to brush them with a little bit of ice water. Make sure crisp both. And I'm going to take my knife. I'm going to score the tops. Now, this is ready to go into the oven. Let me show you how we're going to do that. Okay, so what you're going to do is take the boiling water and fill up the pan on the lower rack. Then put your bread on the rack directly above it. Close the oven. Set the oven for 400. And set your timer for 40 minutes. I like to check it at 30, but it'll be done in 40-ish. So we'll just wait for the penguin to tell us the bread is done. There we go. Fresh out of the oven. And you can just let those cool. I'm going to put them on a rack. And again, you want to a little hollow sound when you tap the bottoms. And there you have it. 2 loaves of bread, quick and easy. Bread takes a little while to make, but it doesn't actually take a lot of your time. It's just time while it's sitting there raising and doing its thing. So you can start your bread in the morning or early afternoon and have fresh bread for dinner. Well, Scallion, I've been busy this afternoon. Well, you've been having your day off. I made baguettes and I made a new jar of tapenade because I know how everyone feels about the tapenade. And then we have some of our favorite crackers, so I thought you might enjoy having a glass of wine and a little snack, and we'll have a little happy hour.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for being here today on a special episode of Meg's Magical Mansion. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that red button, ring the bell so we can let you know about new episodes. Check us out on Instagram, and we'll be back for our regular Thursday episode, which is going to be ready, set your intentions, go. So we'll see you Thursday for our next episode of Meg's Magical Mansion. All right, Skelly, let's dig in. You want some of this on your plate?
Please.